Welcome to the Petals Club box for Here Comes Spring. We're going to start with the border on this one, and you will see that I've split the border into blue and green, blue representing sky and the green representing the grass and the flower beds. So I'm just quickly going around the edge, evenly spacing them. If you're doing the square, you'll have a few tiles left over. If you're doing the round, you should just have enough. So now we're going to make the flower petals. These are cut from squares of coloured glass. You've got several different colours in your box to choose from, so use the ones that you feel best for you. Each flower takes 4 squares. To create the petals, we're first of all going to cut a square in half diagonally. So just hold your nippers in the middle and then just gently squeeze to break it in half, like that. So now we're going to cut off those little corners. So you've got a big corner we're cutting off and a small corner, and you can see now that the petal shape is roughly there. I'm going to do this cutting inside a clear plastic bag, and that way it will catch any flying bits. And I suggest that you do the same and also wear safety specs if you've got them. So once those corners are cut off, you've got like a trapezium shaped piece of glass. So we just need to now round off the corners. So just a little bit there, and a little bit round the top to create a more of a petal shape. Yeah. You only need to use tiny little snips here, so you're not cutting off big chunks, you're just shaving off the edges. And there we are, one petal shaped piece of glass. So I've used marker pen to help me or demonstrate how to cut. I'm just wiping that off, and then I just nip off the point because then it sits next to the centre of the flower a bit nicer. So you need to repeat this procedure now 7 more times to complete the flower. So we're just taking off the corners, having the big point pointing down, and then you just snip off those corners there, the big one and the little one, and then round it off. So it's just tiny little snips going round. And don't worry if it's not perfectly smooth. I don't worry about that. You know, think of nature. Nature's not all perfect. So, and it adds a bit of interest as well. So there's 2 down, and then we'll do some more. So I've cut 8 petal shapes now, and I'm just obviously roughly arranging them there on the table so you can see. Then when you're happy, you can start gluing it down. So I've chosen pink, yellow, orange and this red, which got an iridescent side and a plain side. And then stick them down where you like, and yeah, and then we go on to the next step. To create the leaves, we're just going to use the little small squares, and I've given you lots of different colours here just to give a bit of interest to your design. You can see we're just going to nip off the opposite corners, and we're only doing small little nips. So just take the points off there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to then smooth it off with some more cuts. So we're just going to smooth it off on those corners there. Again, you can see we're only going to be doing tiny little cuts. You could leave it with those the bigger corners cut off. That will be fine as well, but I'm just going to refine this one a little bit by cutting off the little edges. So I'm cutting this again inside the plastic bag, because that way it's going to catch any flying bits. And make sure you're doing your cutting quite far down inside the bag, not near the top of the bag, so it does actually catch the pieces. And you can see how many pieces it's caught when I was doing the petals at the bottom. So yeah, so we are. So I've smoothed off the edges, and then I'm just going to repeat this process with a few different colours ready to put on the design. When you've cut about 6 or 7 of these leaves, it's time then to start playing with them in your actual design. Place them down dry, see how many you can get in whole, because that's what we're doing first of all. We're placing the leaves whole and trying to fill up as many of the big gaps as possible. And then when you're happy with the leaf placement, the whole leaf placement, then just stick them down. Check your placement and make sure you push the leaves down to make sure you've got that contact between the glass and the MDF. What we're going to do now is fill in the smaller spaces. So I have cut some whole leaves again, and then just having a look at the sizes of the gaps that I need to fill. And then I'm going to cut the whole leaves in half into quarters to fit that gap. And that way it looks like it's half a leaf hiding or just poking out. So it just makes it a bit nicer to look at. And carry on filling the gaps until they've all filled up, remembering that any gaps that you leave will be filled with black grout, and I always think colour is nicer than black, so fill as many spaces you can without being too difficult. So I've just rearranged that top corner. I've changed my mind, and luckily the glue was still dry enough to allow me to do that. And there we are, can you see? So nearly all the gaps are filled up with different coloured leaves. Next we're moving on to the sky. We've got 2 different coloured blues here, but I'm just going to use the one because that's quite a pretty one there. So I've just taken 4 to start with, and I'm just going to cut them roughly into triangle-ish shapes. Cut them into 3, cut them into 4. They're only just rough shapes to start you off. And once you've got those shapes cut, it's just a case of jigsawing them into the blank spaces. So I often just start with 1. Does it work? Yes, it does. Let's stick it down. Then get the next piece. Does that work? Do you need to nibble off a corner to make it fit? And then just have a play. As you can see, there's a lot of picking up and putting down in this stage. It's all part of the process, and it's quite therapeutic sometimes to do that. And then I'm just sticking them down, chopping them up, making them fit. And there we are. So just check your placing, just make sure everything's pushed down and it's stuck to the MDF underneath, and then leave it overnight to dry. The next day you need to grout it. Follow the grouting instructions that's included in the kit, and there's also videos as well online on the website and on YouTube of how to do it. Here, this is circle 1. I've included a couple of bigger leaves, and there is some coloured glass in the kit for that. And then once it's all dry and grouted, then hang it on display. And I think the black grout really shows off those colours beautifully. Enjoy yourself. Thank you for watching.